In today's video, we're diving into some of the darkest and most emotional moments from the Stranger Things universe. Stories you've never heard and secrets. From Max's letters to strange corridors to silent warnings from the Upside Down, each story brings us deeper into the mystery. So sit back, turn off the lights, and let's get started. Will's psychic link to Vecna. Will Byers has always been at the center of Stranger Things, even when it didn't look like it. From the very first episode of Season 1, the Upside Down marked him, changed him, and connected him to something much bigger than Hawkins. And now, with Season 5 on the horizon, Will's strange connection to Vecna might turn out to be one of the most important parts of the final battle. Today, we're breaking down what exactly Will can feel, how deep this connection goes, and why it could change everything. Ever since Will returned from the Upside Down, he hasn't been the same. At first, everyone thought the problem was physical. He was cold, exhausted, and different. But over time, it became clear that something else was going on. Will didn't just survive the Upside Down. A piece of it stayed inside him. In Season 2, Will started sensing danger before it happened. He felt the presence of the Mind Flayer. He knew when the shadow monster was nearby, and he kept touching the back of his neck whenever something from the other side was close. This wasn't just fear, it was a psychic connection. And that link didn't disappear. In Season 4, when Will arrives back in Hawkins at the end, he immediately feels Vecna again. He doesn't see him or hear him. He feels him deep inside his mind. Will even tells Mike that Vecna is still alive because he can sense that same dark presence he felt years ago. This confirms something huge. Will's connection isn't just with the Mind Flayer. It's directly tied to Vecna himself. What makes this even more interesting is Will's emotional side. The Upside Down seems to react to strong feelings, and Will has been carrying guilt, fear, and inner conflict for years. Season 5 might finally reveal how those emotions connect with Vecna's hive mind, and whether Will can use that link to help the group, or if Vecna will try to control him again. There's also the question of infection. Will was physically infected by the Mind Flayer in Season 2, and pieces of that hive mind might still be inside him. Vecna controls the hive, so if Will still has a piece of the Mind Flayer inside him, that gives Vecna a direct path into Will's thoughts, memories, and feelings. But the good news, a connection goes both ways. If Vecna can feel Will, then Will may also be able to sense Vecna's plans, weaknesses, or location. And in a final season where every clue matters, Will's mind might become one of the most powerful tools the group has. Will's psychic link has been building for 4 whole seasons, and Season 5 might finally show us why he was chosen, why he survived, and what his real role is in the final fight. One thing is clear, Will isn't just the boy who went missing anymore. He might be the key to ending Vecna once and for all. Max is messed up. Max Mayfield is one of the strongest, bravest characters in Stranger Things. She's been through loss, trauma, and the darkness of Hawkins more than almost anyone else. But going into Season 5, Max is in the worst condition we've ever seen her. Today, we're breaking down exactly what happened to Max, what state she's in right now, and why her storyline might be the most important one in the entire final season. Season 4 left Max in a terrifying place. Not just emotionally, but mentally and physically. Vecna didn't simply hurt her, he completely destroyed her body. When Vecna attacked Max in the real world, her arms and legs snapped in multiple places. Her eyes went completely white from the intense bleeding, and in that moment, Max actually died. For a few seconds, Max's heart stopped. She wasn't breathing, she wasn't responding, and if it wasn't for Eleven stepping into her mind and forcing her back into life, Max would already be gone. But even though Eleven brought her back, the Max we knew didn't return. After the battle, Max fell into a deep coma. Doctors don't know when or if she'll wake up. They literally told the group that she might not come back at all. Her body is alive,
But her consciousness is missing. Eleven tried to enter Max's mind again in the hospital, but she found nothing. No thoughts, no memories, just an empty void. Max isn't asleep. She's gone somewhere else, or she's nowhere at all. And that makes Max's story one of the biggest mysteries going into season 5. Will she wake up? And if she does, will she ever be the same? Vecna didn't just break her body, he tried to break her soul. Max fought back with everything she had, using her happiest memories to block Vecna out, but she still ended up trapped in his plan. Another detail people forget, Max was Vecna's final victim, and her brief death is what opened the last gate, the gate that merged all 4 portals into one massive tear in Hawkins. So even while unconscious, Max is directly tied to the destruction of the town. Her story is more important than ever. Max's fate is one of the biggest emotional questions of season 5. Is she trapped inside her own mind? Is Vecna still holding on to a piece of her? Or will she wake up changed forever? We're going to find out soon, but one thing is clear. Max's story is far from over. The bite that never fully healed. Steve Harrington has survived a lot in Stranger Things, way more than anyone expected back in season 1. He's been beaten, bruised, thrown around, dragged through chaos, and still somehow walks away with that charming smile. But one moment in season 4 stands out as a huge red flag for what might be coming next. The night he got bitten in the Upside Down. It happened right after the group jumped into the Watergate. The place was crawling with danger, but nobody expected Demobats to show up in a swarm that fast. Within seconds, 2 of them were on Steve, tearing into him with their razor-sharp teeth. They latched onto his sides, ripping into his skin like they were trying to carve their way inside him. And here's the strange part. Steve survived it, sure, but the show never explained what those bites actually do. Everyone treated it like just another injury. Bandage it up, add a joke or two, and keep moving. Classic Steve. But the Upside Down doesn't work like that. Nothing from that world is harmless. Nothing touches you without leaving some kind of mark. The Demobats aren't just animals. They're connected to Vecna. They follow him, feed on his orders, and operate as part of a bigger hive mind, the same collective consciousness that once infected Will. So if Will could feel the mind flare inside him for months, what about Steve? There's a real possibility that Steve's wounds are more than just scars. We don't know what was in those bites, what they injected into his body, or what kind of link they might have created. Maybe Steve is fine. Or maybe the infection is slow, silent, waiting for the right moment to wake up. One thing the show made very clear, Vecna likes using people as his eyes and ears, as his spies. And Steve was literally bitten by creatures that serve him. That's why fans haven't forgotten this moment. Not because Steve almost died, he's done that plenty of times, but because we still don't know what those Demobats left behind. And with season 5 bringing everything to a final showdown, every little detail matters. Steve jokes that they took a pound of flesh, but maybe they took something else too. The Russian connection. When fans think about Stranger Things, they often focus on Hawkins, the Upside Down, and the main group of kids. But there's a huge part of the story that happens far from Indiana, deep inside Russia. Today we're breaking down the mysterious Russian connection, what the Soviets really know, and why their experiments could become a major part of Season 5. The Russian storyline has been building slowly since the post-credit scene in Season 3. At first, nobody knew what Russia had to do with the Upside Down, but Season 4 finally showed us the truth, and it was bigger than anyone expected. When Hopper is captured and taken to the Kamchatka prison, we discover that the place isn't just a normal prison. It's also a military facility filled with something terrifying. Demogorgons, Demodogs, and even fragments of the Mind Flayer.
That single detail changes everything. It means the Russians didn't just stumble onto the Upside Down, they studied it. The big question is, how much do they actually understand? The Russians managed to capture live demogorgons. They built their own version of gate-opening technology. They transported monsters across continents. That means they've been experimenting with the Upside Down for years, long before Hawkins even realized how dangerous things were. And then comes the most shocking part: the Mind Flayer particles stored inside glass tanks. When Joyce and Murray see this, they understand immediately that Russia has been collecting pieces of Henry Creel's hive mind. That raises so many questions. Did they know what the particles were? Were they trying to weaponize the Upside Down? Or were they simply experimenting without understanding the risk? Whatever the answer is, Russia clearly knew enough to be dangerous. Even more interesting is Hopper's fight with the Demogorgon. That creature behaves almost like a trained weapon. The guards treat it like something they've learned to control, at least a little. If the Russians managed to tame or study Demogorgons, that means they might know things about the Upside Down that even 11 doesn't. And here's where it gets important for Season 5. Everything we've seen from Russia has been one small facility, one prison, one project. There could be many more. If the Russians spent decades experimenting, they might know the origin of the particles, the biology of the creatures, or even how to weaken or destroy Vecna's hive mind. In fact, some fans believe Hopper's return to Hawkins with first-hand knowledge of these experiments might give the heroes a massive advantage. He's seen the Demogorgon up close. He's seen the particles. He knows that humans can survive contact with these monsters long enough to fight back. The Russian storyline is far from over, and Season 5 might finally reveal just how deep their connection to the Upside Down goes. Whether they become allies, enemies, or something in between, one thing is clear: Russia knows more than they should, and that information could shape the final battle for Hawkins in a big way. Eddie's name has not been cleared. Eddie Munson became one of the most beloved characters in Stranger Things after only one season. His energy, his humor, his loyalty, everything about him made fans connect with him instantly. But while we know the truth about Eddie, the town of Hawkins does not. Today, we're talking about one of the most painful details going into Season 5. Eddie's name has never been cleared, and the entire town still believes he was a killer. Eddie's story in Season 4 is tragic from the very beginning. When Chrissy is murdered by Vecna, Eddie becomes the prime suspect. Not because there was real evidence, but because the town needed someone to blame. Jason, fueled by fear and anger, convinces everyone that Eddie was the leader of a satanic cult, part of a satanic panic that was spreading across America at the time. For Hawkins, Eddie wasn't just a suspect, he was a monster. And this is where Eddie's tragedy becomes even sadder. He died trying to save the same town that hated him. In the Upside Down, Eddie made a choice. Instead of running away like he always said he did, he stood his ground and fought the Demobats to buy more time for Dustin and the others. He sacrificed his life so that Hawkins could have a chance. But the people of Hawkins never learned the truth. When Season 4 ends, we see something heartbreaking. Eddie's missing person posters have been vandalized with devil horns and satanic symbols. Even after his death, the town thinks he was a murderer, a traitor, someone dangerous. They don't know he was a hero. But we do see one important moment: Dustin telling Eddie's uncle the truth. In one of the most emotional scenes of the season, Dustin explains that Eddie died fighting for Hawkins. He didn't run, he didn't hide. He saved the town that rejected him. And even though this brought some comfort to Eddie's uncle, it didn't change the public opinion. Hawkins still believes Eddie was a criminal. This storyline might matter more than people think. Season 5 will bring the town face to face with the Upside Down. When monsters finally appear openly, when gates rip across Hawkins,
When the truth can't be ignored anymore, the town might finally understand who Eddie really was. And if Dustin, Steve, Nancy, or others speak up publicly, Hawkins could finally clear Eddie's name. It won't bring him back, but it could give him the respect and honor he deserved. Eddie's story may have ended in season 4, but what he stood for hasn't. His bravery, his sacrifice, and his heart still matter. Clearing his name in season 5 wouldn't just fix a mistake, it would honor the hero he became. And maybe finally Hawkins will realize the truth about Eddie Munson.
The words she wrote before the darkness came. Max Mayfield has always been tough, tougher than anyone her age should ever have to be. But by the time season 4 hit its darkest point, Max knew something that nobody else wanted to admit. She felt her death coming, not in a vague, dramatic way, but in a very real, very terrifying way. Vecna was closing in, and she could feel his presence every time her vision blurred or she heard that haunting clock. So she did something brave and heartbreaking. She started writing letters. Not just one or two, not just to the people she was closest to. She wrote letters to almost everyone in her life, her family, her friends, even people she barely talked to, like Will and Steve. That alone tells us how real the threat felt to her. Max wasn't preparing for a fight. She was preparing for the end. What makes these letters especially mysterious is how Max talked about them. When the boys discovered the envelope she was carrying, she didn't call them goodbyes or messages. Instead, she used a strange word, a failsafe. That's not something a 14-year-old usually says. It sounds more like a plan or a warning, and it left fans wondering, why would Max choose that word? What did she write in those letters that made them feel like something more than personal notes? We never got to see what was inside. Max made sure of that. She told the others not to open the letters unless she died, not if she was injured, not if she disappeared, only if she actually died. That's a very specific rule, and it makes us wonder what kind of information she thought she'd be leaving behind. Did she write something about Vecna? Did she write about the visions she was seeing? Did she leave clues or instructions? We can only guess. But the moment Max handed out those envelopes, it said everything about how scared she was. She tried so hard to stay strong in front of her friends, but the letters revealed the truth. Max truly believed she wouldn't make it, and in the end, she was right. At least for a moment. Vecna did kill her, even if 11 brought her back. Now, Max lies in a coma, with her mind completely missing, and her letters remain sealed somewhere, still waiting. Whatever she wrote, whatever she tried to warn them about, whatever she felt in those final days, we still don't know. But sooner or later, someone is going to open those letters. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories and want more episodes like this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Let me know in the comments which story was your favorite, or what Stranger Things moment you want me to cover next. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.